Friends, welcome you all on the behalf of Rahul Anand Tutorials. So as you know that I am Rahul Anand and this is somewhat around my channel whose name is actually the Rahul Anand Tutorials. Now let's get start with the very interesting topics which are often being asked in terms of your Neet, often the Aiims, often the All India Pre-Medical Examination. So these are literally belonging from which of the chapters of your book? So these are belonging from the same, the unit of light. So now let's understand about these, which what are actually the Golgi Apparatus. So primarily when we are talking about this, so you have to understand the certain facts in it. So it was particularly discovered by whom? So it was discovered by the Camilo. So Camilo is what? So Camilo was actually the scientist who particularly demonstrated these in terms of what? In terms of the nerve cells of the owl. Fine. In terms of what things? In terms of the Golgi apparatus. Now, often when we are talking about these case of the Golgi apparatus, so you have to understand the certain facts in it. So in this case, what will be happening? So fine. Often when we are talking about the case of the Golgi apparatus, so these are what? So these are particularly being viewed with reference to the electrode microscope. Often these are what actually? So these are having the densely straight tubular structure, which will be particularly being viewed with reference to what? By the mode of the electron microscope, as well as these Golgi apparatus are literally being present where? So these are present here many terms near the nucleus. In terms of what of the cells? So this will be present in terms of the animal cells particularly. Often in terms of the plant cell, but the case is quite a bit different. As well as when we are talking about these cases, means what are actually the here many terms of the animal cells. So you are very clear about. And when we are talking about the case of the nucleus, so you are often very clear about that, means what are actually the nucleus. So it will be actually having what? So it will be actually having the chromosomes. So these are containing the chromosomes, means what? Your nucleus. And all these chromosomes are actually what? So these chromosomes are the vehicle of heredity. Often in these will be having the genes which are particularly being localized on. Often you are having the nucleolus, the case is quite a bit different. So nucleolus are particularly being performed as well as made of what things? Tell me. So these are being made out of the two components. So these are the protein as well as the arteriocytes, mean the red blood cell. So now let's proceed with reference to the second case. So when we are talking about these cases, what? In terms of the here, in terms of the Golgi apparatus. So this will be found in terms of what? This will be generally found in terms of the here, in terms of the prokaryotic cell. As well as when we are talking about the case of what are actually the prokaryotic cell. So you are very clear about that. Tell me. So the cell which is having the presence of the nucleus as well as the other organelles in terms of the specialized ratio. So it will be coming under what case? So it will be coming under your prokaryotic cell case. Often when we are talking about these cases in terms of the Golgi apparatus, so you are often having the exception case. And when we are talking about the case of the Golgi apparatus, so it will be present where? So this will be particularly being found in terms of the here in terms of the eukaryotic cell. Often when we are talking about the case, means what are actually the eukaryotic cell. So you are very clear about that. Remember? So the cell which is having what? So the cell which is having the specialized type of the nucleus. Often what? Often the other cell organelles, particularly present in terms of your cell. Coming under what case? So it will be coming under your here minute of the eukaryotic cell. As well as when we are talking about the case in terms of the exception. So we are often having the exception case. Remember? So it will be not found in terms of what? So your Golgi apparatus will not be found in terms of the red blood cell, in terms of the animal cell. Often when we are talking about these cases in terms of the Golgi apparatus, so it will be not found in terms of what? In terms of the here, in terms of the sperm cells of what? Of the bryophytes as well as the pteridophytes. It is and when we are talking about the case of the Golgi apparatus, so this will be found where? So this will be particularly being viewed as well as found in terms of the eukaryotic cell. Remember about the case of the eukaryotic cell. So these are what? So the cell which is having the specialized type of the nucleus as well as the other cell organelles. So it will be coming under what case? So it will be actually coming under the eukaryotic cell. Often when we are talking about the case of the here in terms of the exception. So it will be not present as well as found in terms of what? It will be not present as well as found in terms of the red blood cell. As well as what? So as well as the arteriocytes. So red blood cell as well as the arteriocytes are generally same in nature. In terms of what? So these are particularly being present in terms of the animal cell. Often when we are talking about these cases in terms of the Golgi apparatus. So it will be not present in terms of the sperm cells of what? Of the bryophytes as well as the pteridophytes. As well as these are often not being found in terms of what? In terms of the here, in terms of what? The prokaryotes. So prokaryotes are what? Tell me. So the cells which is not having the presence of the nucleus, fine, as well as the other specialized type of the cell organelles. Coming under what case? So it will be coming under your, tell me. So it will be coming under your here, in terms of the prokaryotic cell. Now, so look, you could often find it on the body here. As well as when we are talking in the case of the plant cells, so this will be present in terms of what? So this will be particularly present in terms of the scattered ratio or rather the proper system. So these are known as what? So these are particularly known as the dictosomes. Now, so when we are talking about the structure as well as the different demonstration parts, In terms of what? In terms of your Golgi apparatus. So it will be particularly being divided in terms of the three broad categories. So these are what? So these are the vesicles. Often what? Often the tubules. Often when we are talking about the case of the Golgi apparatus, so you will be having the certain parts in it, such as what? Such as the cisteria, as well as the lumen, as well as what? Such as the cisteria, lumen, often the tubules, as well as the vesicles, as well as what? In terms of the vesicles, often it will be divided in terms of what? In terms of the outgoing, transporting vesicles, as well as the incoming, what? Incoming transported vesicles. So you could often find it on the board here. Often when we are talking about the another types of the components in terms of what? In terms of the structure of what? The structure or rather the components of the Golgi apparatus. So it will be divided into the broad categories. So now let's understand about this in terms of the details. So when we are talking about the complex structure as well as the complex ultrastructure of what? So it will be actually what? So let's understand about the structure of the Golgi apparatus. So fine, when we are talking about the case of the Golgi apparatus structure, so we'll be having the ultrastructure of the Golgi apparatus. So these are being divided into the three broad categories. Such as what? Such as the cisteria, then the lumen, often the vesicles. So when we are talking about the case of the cisteria, so by the help of the diagram, you are very clear about that. So find here. So these are what? So these are the flattened membrane stake-like structure. Find here. Here, cisteria. As well as on the other hand, you will be having what? So cisteria. After that, you will be having the now let's understand about this. Means what actually the cisteria. So this will be particularly resembling the shape of what? In terms of the here, in terms of the round as well as the oval shape, which are particularly being formed with reference to what? So these are being formed with reference to the budding in cisteria. Often when we are talking about the case of the budding, so you are very clear about that. Remember? So we are often having the budding in hydra. Often in this you will be having the particular type of the projection, such as what? Such as the tentacles. Often what? Often the tail as well as the bird. Often you will be having the particular different projection. So these are particularly having what? So these will be having the outer here body. So these are particularly being attached with reference to the parental body in terms of what? In terms of the premature stage. But after that, when it hits the maturity stage, in which what will be happening? So this will particularly becoming free in terms of what? To survive on its own. Thus, what will be happening? This will be particularly being detached from what? From the parental body. Now, and when we are talking about the case of the Golgi apparatus, so these are what? So these are the membrane bounded container. As well as when we are talking about the case of the vesicles, so in this case, what will be happening? So in the cytoplasm, the vesicles are present, which appear as what? Which appear as the dense granules in terms of what? In terms of the cytoplasm. And when we are talking about the case of the cytoplasm, so you are making clear about that. What are actually the cytoplasm? Tell me. So cytoplasm are what? So cytoplasm are the, tell me. So these are the fluid in which all the as well as maximum of the cell organelles are particularly being induced. As well as when we are talking about the case of the cytoplasm, so these are actually the fluid often in order in terms of what? In terms of the 80% of the cell organelles is literally being employed with reference to what of the what? Molecules which are quite here hydratic in nature. So these are known as what? So these are actually known as the fluid substances. Often in the term of the cell organelles, we are having the fluid mechanism with reference to how much of the percentage with reference to the H2O molecules, and in these we will be having the cytoplasm. Now, so let's proceed with reference to the another type of the components. Fine. So when we are talking about this case in terms of what? In terms of the function of the Golgi apparatus. So you are having the certain more things to go. Now let's understand about these. Means what are actually the function of the Golgi complex as well as the Golgi apparatus. So your Golgi complex as well as the Golgi apparatus pump to eliminate waste out of the cell. Fine. So you are very clear about that. Means what are actually the pumping mechanism in order from these cases, such as we are often having the channel as well as the function of the another mechanism, such as the here in terms of the diffusion as well as the osmosis. So these are particularly being just like similar to this in terms of the pumping mechanism. Remember, so in the case of the osmosis, what will be happening? Here, in terms of the exchange of the material, in terms from what? In order from either the cell towards the outer environment or either from the outer environment towards the cell will be taking place with reference to what? So with reference to the here, in terms of the water molecules. Often when we are talking about the case of the diffusion, so there will be particularly exchange of the material, of course will be occurring with reference to what mode? With reference in terms of the ingredients, which will be particularly present in terms of what of the state, which will be present in terms of the gaseous stage or either the gaseous phase. Often when we are talking about the case, means what are actually the function of what? Means in terms of the here, in terms of the Golgi apparatus. So these are playing important role to secrete what? So these are playing important role to secrete the enzymes as well as the hormones. So you are very clear about that. Means what are actually the enzymes. So enzymes are what? So enzymes are the biological catalysts playing important role to increase to or decrease the rate of reaction without being particularly altered. Remember? So these are often being further divided in terms of the two broad categories. So these are what? So these are the apoenzymes as well as the cofactors. So one will be particularly what? So one will be particularly the proteinase enzymes. On the other hand, we will be having the non-proteinase enzymes. So we'll be often understanding about that later. As well as you are often having the case of the hormones. So hormones are what? So hormones are the chemicals which are particularly essential in order to maintain the life supporting mechanism as well as the healthy status with reference to our body. Remember, as well as we are often having the different types of the glands in it, such as what? Such as here in terms of the endocrine glands as well as the exocrine glands. So the one will be particularly secreting the here in terms of the substances or rather the pipe-like structure. What? Their secretion coming under what case? So it will be coming under the endocrine. On the other hand, you are having the exocrine. So the case will be what? So the case will be quite a bit different. Often when we are talking about the case of the Golgi apparatus, so it is often having the vital codes of the role as well as the functions in it. So these are what? So these are playing important role to manufacture the food ingredient. And when we are talking about the case of what? The Golgi apparatus. So these are playing important as well as the major role in order for what? In order of packing the material which will be particularly being transported with reference to what? With reference to the intracellular membrane or rather the intracellular organelles. So you are very clear about that, means what are actually the different organelles with reference to our cell. Remember? So we are having the nucleus as well as the nucleolus. Then the vesicles. Often you will be having the lysosomes. Often the ribosomes, often the endoplasmic reticulum, the Golgi complex as well as the Golgi apparatus. Now, so when we are talking about the secondary role with reference to this in terms of the Golgi apparatus, so these are playing important role for what? So these are playing important role in order for the synthesizing of the ribosomes. And when we are talking about the case of the here, many of the major role with reference to the Golgi apparatus. So these are playing important role for what? So these are playing important role in order for the packaging of the material or rather the substances which will be particularly being transported with reference to what? With reference to the other components in terms of what? In terms of the intra-membrane spaces as well as the intracellular spaces as well as the organelles. So you are very clear about that, means what are actually the organelles. So these are what? So these are the nucleus, the nucleolus, often the rough endoplasmic reticulum, often the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, as well as what? The cytoplasm. Often you will be having the lysosomes as well as the ribosomes. In turn you will be often having the Golgi apparatus. So these are what? So these are nothing else but the here many of the cell organelles. Now in the last when we are talking about the case of what? Of the Golgi apparatus. So these are often playing important role for the synthesizing of what? So these are playing important role in order for the synthesizing of the lysosomes. And you are very clear about that, means what are actually the lysosomes. So these are literally being found with reference to the eukaryotic cell. Remember what are actually the eukaryotic cell? So the cell which will be having the resemblance with reference to what? With reference to the defined nucleus as well as the other cell organelles. Coming under what case? So it will be coming under your eukaryotic cell. Often this will be found with reference to what? In terms of the lysosomes. Where? In terms of the here, in terms of the red blood cell. Often you are having the exception case in term where in term it will be not found in terms of the here in terms of what? In terms of the eukaryotic cell. So eukaryotic cell are what? So the cell which will be having the defined type of the nucleus as well as the defined type of the cell organelles. Coming under what case? So it will be coming under your here in terms of the eukaryotic cell. As well as when we are talking about the case of the lysosome. So these are often known as what? So these are often known as the suicidal bag or rather the self-suicidal bag. Remember? So just like we are having the army. So our army is often having the cyanide which are literally being present here. And you are very clear about that, means what are actually the lysosomes. So lysosomes are what? So lysosomes are generally being found with reference to the here many of the eukaryotic cell. Often when we are talking about the case of the lysosomes in terms of the prokaryotic cell. So it will be not found in terms of what? In terms of your prokaryotic cell. Often it will be found in terms of what? Means your lysosomes will be present where? So it will be present actually in the red blood cell. So you are very clear about that, means in terms of what? In terms of the animal cell. Often in terms of the arthrocytes. Often when we are talking about these, means what are actually the lysosomes. So playing an important role for what? So these are actually the here in order just like the suicidal bag. Present in order for what? Present in order to make the outer or either the damaged type of the cell which are having the infection or either the pathogens bacteria which are literally being produced with reference by the help of what? With the help of the different types of the antigens. So this will play an important role to secrete what? So these minute of the lysosomes will play an important role to secrete the vital types of the chemicals just like the suicidal bag. And it will result in what? So it will result in the death of the particular components which are playing important role to damage the healthy cell. Now, as well as many of the lysosomes, these are often being further divided in order of the three broad categories. So these are what? So these are the primary structure with reference to the lysosomes as well as the secondary structure as well as the tertiary structure. So we'll be understanding as well as dealing about that structure later. So this is somewhat the condition, or we are talking about the Golgi apparatus, in which we have read about the particular name of the scientist who have demonstrated it, as well as what are actually the Golgi apparatus. Often what are the vital parts as well as the components which are actually being found with reference to what? With reference to your Golgi apparatus, such as what? Such as the castelia, as well as the tubules, as well as the vesicles. So you could often write these. So if you like the work with reference to the education as well as the lectures as well as the videos, so you could often subscribe, like, as well as comment below in the text. Thus I'll be knowing that what concept actually you are hungry for, or what event you understood or either got. So very thank you with reference to what? With reference to the Rahul Anand tutorials. So please like, subscribe as well as share. Very thank you.